good. Certified mail, registered mail is great. I encourage that. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to now, you got the fiduciary appointment of a fiduciary. Okay, when we get into that, and when we start talking about this form, you're gonna realize the difference between the 56F and the 56 is that you appointing yourself as the fiduciary over your estate. And then when you get, and then as well as the IRS, and then when you get to the notice of fiduciary, is for a financial institution. So the 56F is for the financial institution. So for when you're doing business with somebody, you letting them know, you giving notice that you're doing business with a financial institution in a fiduciary capacity. Okay, so now so we got the 56, we got the 56F. You can mail those in. I would encourage you to do those registered mail. Me in Cleveland, Ohio, we have a federal building downtown. I call them, I make an appointment, I let them know that I'm acting on behalf of a descendant estate. They make me an appointment, and I come down with my nationality ID. I show them my nationality ID. They let me in the elevator, and I go up to the suite where the IRS is, and I drop off and talk about whatever it is that I want to talk about with the agent that's representing the IRS. And you can mail these forms in if you want to. You know what I'm saying? You could follow up with them with a walk-in. You could do a walk-in, like I said. You could do both of those. The 56 can be done that way. Okay. Then you got the 8832. Okay. Now, mind you, remember I said the location of the debtor is the District of Columbia. So when you're putting your address, and mind you, these forms needed, if you're filling out a credit card and you're going into a dealership and you're doing business, when you get home and you do your 72-hour rescission and you get your instructions ready and you get your statements and you get your statement within that 45 days before they actually securitize that asset, you can use the lemon rule, which is the lemon rule is a federal rule where you can rescission in 3 days. Then you got federal rules, and you got statutory rules able to solidify and hold your rights when it comes to 72 hours and 3-day rescissions. Okay, so you go ahead. That's what you're really doing. You're not resigning the contract. You're resigning their equitable interest. You're retitling the account. You're giving them notice that you're acting on behalf of the principal, that you realize that you made a mistake, that you actually didn't give payment, that you gave floating reserve note. You know what I'm saying? Things of that nature, that you want your deposits back so that you can give a proper payment. Now you're attempting to do your tender. Now the question is they honoring that? That's where the administrative process and their non-acceptance of your performance is put together and is used against them in the court of law. It's not so much at what they violated and how they violated and the consumer rights and all this. It's the fact that this payment method, this form of payment method is set up by the Trust and Indenture Act. This form of payment is set up by the Full Faith and Credit Act. This form of payment and tender is set up by the Treasury Department. You know what I'm saying? This form of payment is set up by the Bill of Exchange, which is, for our Bill of Exchange, is the negotiable instrument in the UCC, which is our form of a Bill of Exchange here. I don't hear a lot of people talk about that because they're looking into the UK version, which is fine, because the parliament exists. The Social Security was established by with the conformity and contractual agreements between nations. So it's the Social Security 9-digit is a national document, and it's not just something that the United States came up with. This is something that the United Kingdom used. This is something that Great Britain used. This is something that has been in agreement since a long time. Okay. Tristan and Kendrick, I'm recording. I need y'all to step out over there. So we got the 8832, which is one of these several forms that is going to go. So that credit card that you file, you're going to be doing all of these. You understand what I'm saying? And then we're going to get into some other stuff too as well, because it's a lot of people filing 1099As and Cs, but see, that's cutting off the account when the account is constantly being traded on and it has a life expectancy of 33 years, if not more. So we really want to get involved in not canceling debt and creating income. We want to understand how to operate in the sense of revenue. We want to hold these assets. We want to use them for future investments. so that we had the ability, so we can hold them and not get audited, that we could put a bartering and trade on it so that the creditor and the debtor can get paid. So everybody can get paid. So we're gonna get into the relevancy of a 1099B and why the 1099B is really, really better. You know what I'm saying? So you could record your billing, because the CFRs are billing codes, okay? Because you want to put these CFRs on there because they're billing, when it comes on no 1099B, they become billing codes. You understand what I'm saying? So barter and trading, so that you continuously getting your interest, and when you retitle these accounts, you still holding this equitable interest versus discharging it, turning it into income, and then discharging that. You know what I'm saying? And just being left with an asset versus making residual currency, making a cash flow. You know what I'm saying? Just keeping it going, and then we'll get into that. So for every account, you want to do each the 231. You want to do the 56, the 56F. You want to go ahead and do the power of attorney. You know what I'm saying? Get these into the IRS. Then we got the 8832, which is the election as your disregarded entity as a separate entity. Okay. So this is what happens is when you send this form in, since the Social Security and the birth certificate have been commingled because of the business that you have done in the past, at least in the private with the IRS, you letting the IRS know, like, hey, this public person, this legal descendant estate, this taxpayer identification card is not affiliated with the with its owner. Okay, it's separate from its owner. So because you're the registered owner of the birth certificate and it actually is registered in the state, now you put the feds on notice. Now the feds is going to separate that entity from its owner on the tax side. You know what I'm saying? Now you can go ahead and you see the relevancy when it comes to doing your Minnesota authentication and putting your claim in on your birth certificate, so you can ultimately generate your own private documents. You understand what I'm saying? Then you can sit that public record to the side, knowing that you have ownership of it, but you still gonna start to exercise with private documents that you start to create yourself. You understand what I'm saying? Because you're gonna be using this Social Security because you have interest in that. You know what I'm saying? You create an account. That's an account. When you go get that account, you extend that credit, you create an estate. So if you created an estate in that dealership, guess what? The location of the debtor is in that dealership. The District of Columbia is in that dealership. When you take the application and you put your address on it, guess where the location of the debtor is now? At your house. So this is why you're liable. This is why we need to this is what retitling means. Okay? When it comes to putting your address, you're gonna put the location of the debtor. We're not the District of Columbia. We're gonna the instrumentalities, okay, which is an instrumentality. So when you fill out the application, you do your 72-hour rescission, you sending in your instructions, you filing your 1099-C, your 1099-B, you need to be excuse me, you need to be putting the address of that business, because that's where that debtor had came to life. That's where that payment was secured at, and that estate was erected. You understand what I'm saying? That corporation is responsible for that 1099 ID and things like that of that nature in a fiduciary capacity that they have. They try to give that obligation and assign it to you. And that's why they so stern about that address, that ID, and that social, and hoping that you don't understand how to restrict it or retitle. You understand what I'm saying? When it's your address, it's the District of Columbia is at your house. You got to turn that application around and point that bad boy to ding 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 to the dealership, to the credit card, to the vital statistics, to the hospital that you was born in. You're gonna retitle your birth certificate back to the vital statistics. You're gonna take that application that's in that hospital and that footprint. You're gonna retitle that address back to where that debtor was born. That thing was born in the District of Columbia, the instrumentality of that hospital. So that's important to understand. So you got the election at 8832, which is going to help you separate the two. And this form should go to Ogden, Utah. Okay, the address is right there. I'm going to highlight it. Okay. So, what? Oh, that was crazy. Just give me one second, guys. The process. Yeah, so that's my document. That's called the process. That bad boy ain't no joke. So remember that form that's gonna go to Odin. You know what I'm saying? This is fine. Sorry about that, guys. Just bear with me for a second and pull that form back up. Process. Heck yeah. So once I get done with this, you're gonna see why I'm bringing all this up. All right, so we back. So so again, so we back and just like I left off, that oh shoot, that 8832, go ahead and send that to Utah. And then you got the 8821, okay, which let me go ahead and see what that is. So much information that is tax information authorization. So on this form, this is like it's a communication with the IRS, and it's just let me see. So this is just a form that's just a part of the delegation. You know what I'm saying? A form that needs to be in for the account. And you could go ahead and you can read this. It's I forgot exactly why we filing this, but the director of the Internal Revenue is here. This is where the CAF numbers are involved. And it's it looks almost identical to the power of attorney, but it's not. And I think that they complement each other. And then you need your 911. Your 911 is giving the IRS permission to go ahead and help you out with your taxes. And you can go ahead and you can fax the 8821, okay? And then ooh, you for the 911, you can go ahead and you can mail that. You can mail that, okay, and you want to look for for your location. You know what I'm saying? You can look for your region or whatever that it is. You want to make sure that you sending all these forms out. You know what I'm saying? You want to make sure that you sending all these forms out almost at the same time, right after that you done sent in your notice of interest, right after you know what I'm saying, you know, all that, you want to be doing all this within 21 days, moving fast for each account. You know what I'm saying? And then we're going to get into the trust. We're going to get into what governs the trust on the international level, because we on international law. We don't want to be on interstate. We don't want to be, you know what I'm saying? When it comes to private rights and stuff like that, when it comes commercial, the law merchant and commerce, you know what I'm saying? Bills of exchange and banking. We doing law merchant. We doing the Uniform Minor Gift Act, the Uniform Minor Transfer Act, in accordance with the Security Exchange Act. And you want to have your stuff down and professional and coming out. It's important to look professional. You know what I'm saying? So now we're gonna do the 1099B. Everybody talks about the 1099A, acquisition or for abandoned funds. And they talk about the cancellation of debt. You know, when you do those, you create income, and you got to take care of that and take care of that and make sure that that's discharged as well. Now we got barter and trade. Why are we doing the 1099B?